So it turns out the Romanovs weren't all that Russian. The purple line is their Russian lineage and it's pretty linear. After Grand Duchess Anna Petrovna of Russia in the 1700s, the Russian line continues through history, but the family doesn't really marry each other. It's not so inbred. This could be due to the Russian bride show. In a nutshell, in the 14th and 15th centuries, Russia was seen as a secluded and mysterious place, so not many European royals wanted to send their daughters over there. Also, Russia's nobles were very powerful, so to offset that, the Tsars would marry daughters of good but not great families, and they do that by having a bride show, which was basically a 15th century version of The Bachelor or Cinderella. China had a similar ritual, and you'd have brides in the thousands, narrowed down to about 50 or under, staying in a palace, and the Tsar would spy on them, and in the end, he'd give the one he chose to marry a ring. After the 1600s, Russia began to integrate itself with the rest of Europe and their royal families, and this is where we get all that inbreeding. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Here on Mortal Faces, I take historical portraits and transform them, see how individuals we read about might have looked in real life, and I also untangle some family trees. So let's get started. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more trees and recreations, and let me know in the comments who you'd like to see in upcoming videos. So the Romanovs were mostly made up of German in the pink, green, black, and brown, British in the red, and Danes in the blue. We'll start at the top with Albert Frederick of the Prussian line in the 1500s. Everyone had a whole bunch of children. I'll just introduce the relevant ones here. Albert had two daughters, Magdalene and Anna. Magdalene had Mary, who married into the German Holstein-Gdorp family, and then Anna's great-great-grandson in the 1700s married into the British line, but we'll get to them later. With the Holstein-Gdorp family, we have a lot of intermarriages here, and I'm going to try my best to explain it. Frederick and Mary had 4 kids: Hedwig, Sophie, Christian, and Augusta. Hedwig had Charles, who married Ulrika, Eleonora of Denmark, and Christian also married Ulrika's sister, Princess Frederica of Denmark. Christian and Princess Frederica had 2 sons, Frederick IV and Christian August of Holstein-Gdorp. Charles and Ulrika had Hedwig and Frederick IV marry. They are first cousins, and first cousins once removed, and together they have Charles Frederick, Duke of Holstein-Gdorp, who was the first one to marry into the Russian Romanov line. Frederick IV's brother Christian marries his first cousin, Princess Albertina, the daughter of his aunt Augusta of Holstein-Gdorp, and they have Johanna Elizabeth of Holstein-Gdorp. Joanna marries Christian Prince of Anhalt-Zerbst, who was the grandson of Sophie Holstein-Gdorp, and together Joanna and Christian had Catherine, who married Peter III of Russia, and she became known as the famous Catherine the Great. Peter and Catherine are second cousins, and third cousins once removed twice over. Catherine and Peter had Paul I, who married Sophie of Württemberg in 1766. She was his cousin through the Prussian line with Albert Frederick. Remember, he had 2 daughters, Magdalene, whose line married into the green, and then Anna, whose great-great-grandson married the daughter of Britain's King George I. Frederick and Sophia had 2 kids, and it's through Princess Sophia's line that we get Sophie, and together they had Tsar Nicholas I of Russia. Frederick and Sophia's other child was Prince Augustus of Prussia, who had Frederick II, who had Frederick III. Frederick III married Louise of Mecklenburg-Strelitz. She was the daughter of Charles II of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, who was the brother to Queen Charlotte of Great Britain, also known as the Queen from Netflix's Bridgerton. Frederick and Louise had Princess Charlotte of Prussia, who married Tsar Nicholas I. Together, they had Tsar Alexander II of Russia in 1818. He married Marie of Hesse and Bahrain. Her brother's son, so her nephew, married Princess Alice of the UK, who had Anastasia's mother, Alexandra Feodorovna, the last Russian empress. But we'll get to her soon because we still have to create her husband and her father-in-law, Tsar Alexander III. He was the son of Alexander II and Marie of Hesse. Alexander III married into the Denmark line to Dalma of Denmark, also known as Empress Maria Feodorovna. She was the mother of Nicholas II, who escaped the Russian Revolution and died in 1928. You can see her in the animated 1997 Anastasia film. Her sister became Queen Alexandra of the UK, the wife of Britain's Edward VII. If we go back to Frederick III of Denmark in the 1600s, his 2 daughters married into the green. His eldest son, Christian V of Denmark's great-grandson, Frederick V, married Princess Louise of Great Britain, the daughter to King George II. King George II had 3 kids, Princess Mary, Princess Louise, and King George III. We're going to look at Princesses Mary and Louise. Princess Louise married into the Denmark line to Frederick and had Princess Louise and Prince Frederick of Denmark. The daughter married her mother's sister's kid, so her first cousin, Prince Charles of Hesse-Kassel. So her mother's sister, Princess Mary, married into the Hesse-Kassel line and had 2 children, Charles and Frederick, and it's Charles who married Louise of Denmark, who had Louise Caroline, who had Christian the 9th of Denmark. Prince Frederick of Hesse-Kassel and Prince Frederick of Denmark each had a son and a daughter who married each other. What I also found out is that Frederick of Denmark, his wife, Duchess Sophia Frederica of Mecklenburg-Schwerin, was a distant cousin of Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz through her father's line. Her mother was also a Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld, whose brother's line created Prince Albert, who married Queen Victoria. So Princess Charlotte of Denmark is born, who married Frederick Hesse-Kassel's son, Prince William, and they had Louise of Hesse-Kassel, who married her second cousin twice over, and third cousin, Christian the 9th of Denmark. Christian and Louise had the 2 Dane princesses, Alexandra of the UK and Dauma of Russia. Dauma married the Tsar and had the next Tsar, Nicholas II. Nicholas II married his second cousin, Princess Alexi of Hesse and Bahrain, later named Alexandra Feodorovna. Her father was the nephew of his grandmother, and her mother was Princess Alice of the UK, the daughter of Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria's father was Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, whose father was King George III of Great Britain, and mother was Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, whose brother line married into the Prussian line and then married into the Russian line. Nicholas II and Alexandra Feodorovna had 5 children, Grand Duchess Olga, Tatiana, Maria, Anastasia, and Alexi, who all died during the revolution in 1918. They were 22, 21, 19, 17, and 13 years old. There are currently 3 claimants to the Russian throne. Grand Duchess Maria Vladimirovna of Russia is a male line descendant of the 3rd son of Tsar Alexander II. So the first son was Tsar Alexander III. His younger brother is her family. However, her family splits into 2, her father's line and then her father's older sister's line. They have a claim as well. Finally, Tsar Nicholas I of Russia's youngest son's line takes a claim. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more historical recreations or inbred family trees, you can check out more on my channel and subscribe. Each of your subscriptions does help this channel grow. It allows me to continue making more content for you. Let me know in the comments who you want to see in real life. I do make a list of all your suggestions, and I will see you in the next one.